This skinny guy came over and took the box out of our cart. He couldn't have been more than 18 yet, but he acted like he was the king of Kmart. His name tag said, Assistant Day Manager in Training. He walked it through the doors without the alarm sounding. I don't know where the two guys in suits came from, and though they didn't have any name tags on, I could tell that they were store security. I'm sure you know the type. Cheap department store suits, bad haircuts and a holier-than-thou look about them. It's embarrassing enough when the door alarm goes off and everyone within eyeshot stares at you, but to have security ask you to step away from the doors loud enough for all to hear is just humiliating. I mean, they automatically treat you like you're a hardened criminal. You might also remember that my dad is a criminal defense trial lawyer and he can argue like nobody's business. All through his high school and college years, my father was on his school debate team, which means he's a highly experienced arguer. If you ask my dad what sort of degrees he has, he'll tell you that he has a PhD in P.S.ology. But I have since learned that you can't argue with Kmart security guys that think they are Clint Eastwood, Sylvester Stallone and Al Pacino all wrapped into one bundle and stuffed into a cheap Kmart suit. In hindsight, arguing with them wasn't the best move to make because Dad was just causing a scene. One of the security guys said to Dad, "Listen, if you don't calm down, we're going to have to phone the police. By all means. Please call the police." Dad shouted, and all I wanted to do was find somewhere to hide. As it was, I had the hood of my coat pulled over my head and down over my face as much as possible, but I could still feel the other customers' eyes boring holes through my coat. To make a long, drawn-out scene shorter, the police came and both Dad and I were escorted to the back of the store to a tiny employee lunchroom. When the police found out who my dad was, they seemed to switch sides and were trying to calm the Kmart people down. I felt so intimidated and my heart was racing a million beats per minute. I was staying behind my dad, away from everyone. I guess I said something because everyone stopped to look at me. The next thing I knew, I was laying on the floor with a paramedic leaning over me taking my blood pressure. "There he is," someone out of view said. "Dad?" I whimpered, sounding like a scared little child. Dad's voice couldn't have sounded calmer. "I'm right here, Max. You're okay. You just fainted." The paramedic that was checking me out asked, "Can you tell me your name?" "Maxwell L. Riddle," I answered. "Good," the paramedic said, "and what's the L stand for?" Now, I don't actually remember saying this, but Dad swears I told the guy, "None of your damn business." Someone laughed. "Yeah, he'll be fine." My head is cold," I said. "That's because your head is resting on an ice pack," the paramedic told me. Did I hit my head? I groaned as I tried to move and a pain like an electric shock exploded within my skull. Dad chuckled and said, "You nearly broke their floor with that hard head of yours." I laughed and then moaned from the pain, "Dad, don't take this the wrong way, but you're nuts." Dad then said, "Oh, you sound just like the toaster," and made me laugh again. Someone was kneeling to my right, but they had their back to me doing something. It took a second to realize that it was the other paramedic. When he turned around, he didn't look very old. Actually, except for the cheesy porn star mustache, he looked like he could still be in high school. He wiped the inside of my right elbow with a cotton swab and then turned away again. Dad made the comment, "Get ready for the ouchie." "This won't hurt a bit," the guy said with his back still to me. I had to hazard another peek and noticed that his shirt had written up in the back. When I looked closer, I saw that his underwear didn't look like underwear at all. They looked kind of shiny, like he had turned back toward me and stuck me with a needle even before I knew he was going to do it. "Pochi mochi," I exclaimed and made everyone laugh. "Dang dude. Warn a body next time, would ya?" When he turned away again, I got another look and was sure it was a diaper, but then, my dad leaned over me and asked, "You doing okay, champ?" "Me? Oh yeah, just needed a little nap," I joked. "Well, would you look at that?" someone else said. I lifted my head slightly and saw that it was that same skinny assistant manager guy. He bent down, and it felt like he was trying to take one of my shoes off my foot. As he stood back up, he held out a small black rectangular thing. "Boy," Dad said, looking right into my eyes, "if you weren't already hurt, I'd beat you till you couldn't grow anymore." "What?" I said, not realizing that I'd had one of those security scanning devices stuck to the bottom of my shoe. "He must have stepped on it somewhere in the store," the skinny guy commented. He then promptly apologized to my dad and me. I guess the fact that I'd fainted had everyone associated with Kmart concerned. However, I don't think their concern was for my well-being as much as the fear that my father would sue them for everything they had, and then some. Normally, I wouldn't have been too happy with the fact that I had to go to the hospital in the ambulance to get my head checked out. However, seeing how I might get a chance to see more of the medic's diaper was more than enough to counter my dread of going to the emergency room. Maybe they were worried that, if they told me how hurt I was, I might faint again or worse, and that is why they didn't share with me that I did more than just hit my head on the floor. Once in the hospital emergency room, I learned that I had cracked the back of my skull completely open, and had bled quite a bit. Dad also told me that before I came to, I had experienced a small seizure. Unfortunately, the diapered medic wasn't the one that rode in the back with me. Instead, he had climbed into the driver's seat. Aside from the brief moment when he and his partner wheeled me into the emergency room, I didn't get to see him again.